Let's read a story from the Princess Adventure Stories. Tonight we'll read Sleeping Beauty, the Perfect Teen. One morning, Prince Philip and Princess Aurora decided to go for a ride. When they got to the royal stable, Aurora looked around. There were so many horses, and they were all so pretty. She didn't know which one to choose. Then Aurora had an idea. From now on, I think I'd like to ride the same horse every day, she said. A big Palomino horse caught Aurora's eye. He looked strong and handsome. The groom brought the horse out to the ring and put him through his paces. The horse marched around as confidently as if he were the king himself. He was amazing. Then Aurora rode him, and she liked the horse even more. "What's his name?" she asked the groom. "We call him Brutus, your highness," the groom replied. That would not do. Brutus sounded fierce and mean. So Aurora gave her horse a new name that was as nice as he was, Buttercup. Aurora rode Buttercup all around the castle grounds. When a carriage rumbled past, he stood at attention. When Aurora asked him to jump a stone wall, he cleared it effortlessly. Aurora was thrilled. She had found the perfect horse. The next day, Aurora decided to ride Buttercup out to the fairies' cottage so they could meet him. Philip wanted to saddle up his horse Samson and join her. He didn't like her riding through the woods alone. Aurora shook her head. "Don't be silly," she said. "I grew up in these woods. Besides, I won't be alone. I'll be with Buttercup. We'll take care of each other." Philip knew Aurora was right. He waved goodbye as Aurora and Buttercup trotted off. As Buttercup made his way along the smooth path near the castle, he was confident and brave. But the moment they entered the woods, he became a different horse. His steps slowed to a crawl. He looked nervous. When some of Aurora's woodland friends appeared, Buttercup tried to spin around and run away. "There's nothing to be frightened of," Aurora said gently, trying to calm her nervous horse. Buttercup didn't listen. When they came to a fallen log on the trail, Buttercup refused to step over it. And when Aurora asked him to walk through a forest stream, he snorted and shivered. By the time she reached the fairies' cottage, Aurora was very worried. How could a horse who was so brave at the palace be so timid in the woods? Flora, Fauna, and Merryweather oohed and awed when they saw Aurora's new horse. "He's beautiful, dear," Fauna said. Aurora sighed. Buttercup was beautiful. "I just wish he weren't so afraid," she said sadly. "I'm sure it will be all right," Flora said, smiling. "You'll just need to be patient with him, that's all." Merryweather moved closer to get a better look at Buttercup. "What a nice coat he has," she said. "Though he might look even nicer if his hooves were blue." She aimed her wand. Zap! Just like that, Buttercup's hooves turned blue. "Don't be silly," Flora exclaimed. "A horse shouldn't have blue hooves. On the other hand, his coat might look prettier in pink." Zap, zap, zap! Back and forth the fairies went, changing Buttercup from blue to pink to green until it was hard to tell what color he was. As Aurora watched her new horse change colors, she sighed. That didn't seem to frighten him, but a stray leaf fluttering down was as scary as a horse-eating dragon. Suddenly, Aurora sat up. That's it, she realized. As a palace horse, Buttercup was used to people, carriages, and smooth paths, but he had never been deep in the forest before. He wasn't used to other animals, thick branches, rivers, and new noises. No wonder everything scared him. Aurora didn't want to give up on Buttercup. She decided to help him get over his fear. But first she had to get him back to the castle. Aurora said goodbye to the fairies and began heading home. She did her best to ignore the way Buttercup jumped at every noise. Helping him be brave was going to be hard. How would she teach him? Just then, Buttercup stopped so suddenly that Aurora almost fell off. When she looked at the trail ahead, she gasped in horror. An enormous mountain lion was blocking their path. They were in trouble. If Buttercup could be scared of a bunny rabbit, he was certain to go crazy over a mountain lion. To Aurora's surprise, Buttercup didn't panic. She could tell that he was still scared, but he stood proudly and puffed himself up. Taking a step forward, he snorted angrily. Then Buttercup struck out at the mountain lion with his front hooves. Aurora hung on. She was still afraid, but Buttercup had made her feel brave too. Reaching out, she grabbed a sturdy branch from a nearby tree. "Leave us alone," she yelled at the mountain lion, waving the branch, "or else!" Buttercup pawed at the ground and snorted fiercely again. When the mountain lion didn't budge, Buttercup leaped forward and pinned its tail to the ground with one hoof. Then Aurora rapped the mountain lion smartly on the nose with her branch. The lion didn't like that at all. It let out an embarrassed yowl, then yanked its tail free and raced away into the woods. Aurora was pleased with herself and her horse. Buttercup had been brave when it counted the most. "Come on, Buttercup," she said, giving him a pat. "Let's go home." The horse held up his head proudly and pranced off. As the pair neared the edge of the forest, a butterfly fluttered past. Buttercup's eyes went wide and he jumped in terror. But this time Aurora just smiled. "You helped me feel brave," she said. "Now I want to help you get past your fear of the forest." She gently stroked the horse's neck and talked to him in a soft voice. The butterfly fluttered closer and closer and finally landed right on Buttercup's nose. As the butterfly flapped its wings, Buttercup hardly shook at all. Aurora smiled proudly. The fairies had been right. All she needed was a little patience, understanding, and trust. "Good boy," she praised her horse. "You know, Buttercup, I think we really do make a perfect team."